What are your pronouns?
I go by any pronouns. I'm gender fluid.
Really? Is that what that definition is, gender fluid?
Sort of. It's like you feel like one gender one day, maybe another the next, or like neither or any of them.
So if I referred to you as a ver, a ter, a zer, a zim, a her, a him, a they, a them, it doesn't matter?
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter.
What are your pronouns?
Either she, her, or they, them.
What does they, them mean?
Pretty much it's when I'm feeling more of not gender confined, like pretty much no gender. I choose to go by they, them.
So you don't feel like a gender sometimes?
Pretty much. Like, I'm still questioning what my gender is. Like,
So how does that process work?
pretty much just I'm playing around with different gender identities and different pronouns until I figure out exactly which one.
And so some days you feel like a what, and some days you feel like a what?
Some days I feel she, her. Other days, like today, I'm feeling more no gender.
Wow. What are your pronouns?
She, her.
Say that I told you I was a they, them. How would your reaction to that be?
I've dated they, thems. It's not a big deal.
Can you give us a rundown of how that went?
I met them as a they, them, and they said, hey, my pronouns are they, them. And I'm just like, cool.
How does that work, though?
How does dating a they, them work?
The whole thing.
Well, I'm bisexual, so it doesn't really matter what their parts are. It's just about the romantic connection.
What are your pronouns?
My pronouns, I don't really care. I'm cool with using any pronouns. I feel like it is the most suiting for my consciousness, but like
Would
she,
you
they, he, it, any pronouns really.
Would you explain to me what it means?
It, like, instead of saying like she, just it, you know? It as a being instead of she as a gendered
Woman.
female person, woman, girl, whatever, yeah.
Could you take me through what you know about gender pronouns?
Anyone uses pronouns regardless of if you're cisgender or transgender, but it's just the way that people refer to you, like in a sentence. It's pretty basic, like grammar.
Cis pronouns meaning he, him.
No, cis just means, it means same in Latin, so it just means that the gender you identify as is like the same as what you were assigned when you were born. So you are a cisgender man, I am a trans person.
What are your pronouns?
They, them.
They, them?
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean you are both a guy and a girl? Or could you give me some, I don't know what that means.
I would say neither, but either way, I don't really care.
So literally, I would say instead of, hey man, how are you doing? I'd say, hey them.
I mean, I don't care if you say hey man, because that's become more of a neutral term to me. Same with dude and guy. But like, if you were to refer to me, you wouldn't say he, you would say they.
So if I was to say, if I was to refer to you, I'd say they're wearing a balloon hat, not he's wearing a balloon hat.
Yeah.
I see. Some days a they identifies as a man, some days they identify as a woman. Is that how that goes?
No, not even a little bit.
Really?
In general, the people that I have talked to who identify as a they, them, they don't align with either gender. Yeah, they're just not interested in either of them.
So does the part that they have in this area, what does that mean to them?
Very little, I've found.
I'm trying to figure that out. What are your pronouns?
What they are now or what they were?
What, both?
Oh, they used to be she, her, but now they're they, them.
And can you take me through that transition?
Well, I didn't really grow up in that open-minded of a town, so I never knew what it was, but I always kind of felt like I didn't want to be a girl. And sometimes I felt like a man, sometimes I felt like a woman, but I didn't always want to be one. And so either some days I feel like I'm both, or some days I feel like I'm neither, and so I just kind of kept that to myself my whole life until I realized like what non-binary and like they, them and whatnot was. And then I'm like, oh, I think I'm that.
So what makes you feel like a man sometimes? What are your pronouns?
He, him, sometimes it.
Sometimes it.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It just means that I have a creature.
A creature.
Yeah. That I am sometimes.
And I shouldn't be frightened by that, right?
I mean, I doubt it. It's just for the folk. A lot of times, he, him is they're my preferred pronouns if you're into those pronouns. For me personally, when I first started hearing about the pronouns thing, I was annoyed but I recognize that if annoyance is the only thing that I've got, the only reason I've got to not use the pronouns, then I should freaking use the pronouns. So that's what I do.
It's really hard to come at it from a person who identifies as cis. I have a hard time with it myself. That is their experience, and I'm happy to respect them and their experience because it doesn't affect me at all. It's not an easy thing to wrap your head around, but you don't have to because it's not your body. You just have to respect their choice and move on. I don't care enough about what anyone feels. They're like, is that your thing? Cool, we'll move on. I don't care enough. Is that what you want? Fine. It doesn't hurt me at all.
Do your parents know about your pronouns?
No.
They don't know about your pronouns?
No one in my town does.
Oh, wow. You're not from here.
No, I am not. Certainly not. A very small-minded town. My mother once called being non-binary attention-seeking, so it's like, I don't want to be that. If my mom's going to see me in a different light due to my pronouns, then I just don't even want to take the risk of her loving me any less.
The pin on your hat says they, them, theirs.
That's to remind me there's like a transgender community, and I have a friend, she's always telling me, it's them. And I'm like, wait, I can't call him, her, a them, even though him and her equals them. I said, I'm still talking to one person. So I'm starting to try to figure out how to develop this them, their, whatever into my vocabulary. Just being a real hippie, wanting to have the most respect for people.
What do you look for in a life partner?
I don't have a life partner, and I don't want one.
You don't ever want one?
Well, I have a platonic life partner. I live with her and her kiddo. She's basically my sister. We have a lot in common. She's in a similar boat to me. She kind of wants to have relationships but not be really tied to anyone, and I'm in the same boat. So we started living together, and it was a really great fit.
Do you think that has to do with the generations we're in, the millennial, the Gen Z, the newer generations not being as interested in marriage and maybe life partners?
She's actually 10 years older than me, so it's harder to say whether or not she's coming at it from that perspective. But she has a 17-year-old kid who is also a they, them. She just hasn't found the right person, and she's very, very picky about who she lets into her life because she's a really good communicator, and a lot of people get frustrated with that.
Take me through your interpretation of being a they, them.
It's either you don't identify as a man or a woman, or you identify as both a man and a woman. So it's either neither or both. It just depends on how the person feels.
So it's depending on your feelings is what your gender is?
I think most of the time, yeah, pretty much, yeah. It's just how people feel and how they identify, because however they feel, they should chase that feeling to make them happy. So whatever makes people happy.
What are your pronouns?
I use they, he pronouns.
They, he?
Yes.
And what is they?
So they is used as both singular and plural. It's used to affirm gender non-conforming people.
And what does that mean?
So gender is a spectrum with men or more masculine presenting people on one side and female or more feminine presenting people on the other side. And then in between, it's just kind of like I don't really care, I don't apply to anything, and you can just identify however you want.
What are your pronouns?
He, they.
He, they. And they means?
They.
So could you give me a little bit of a description of because I don't understand what that means.
So there's he, she, and there's they. I'm they.
And so you're them?
Yep.
And so are you multiple people?
Yep.
Really?
Yes.
Could you explain that to me?
No. Too much work. But I am a legion. I am legion. I am many. I am the one who is many. All right, y'all. Happy Friday.
He's the... Oh, you don't want to answer any more questions?
No, y'all have a good one.
All right. And that's why we get the... What are your pronouns? So you don't think it's my business to be intrigued and wonder about people's pronouns being they, them, even though I'm not a they, them?
You can ask. And if they say, I go by they, them, and you ask them about their experience, that is a respectful thing to do. The problem is that a lot of people interrogate and try to get them to say something that sounds silly or stupid that can be taken out of context. So a lot of them are very defensive, and I'm also defensive of them.
Do people try to interrogate, or are they trying to genuinely understand and then the person whose pronouns are they, them feel interrogated? I don't understand.
And it's not your place to understand.
I feel like it is my place to try to understand them.
I don't understand, and I don't need to understand. Just like I don't understand Spanish. I don't have anyone in my life who speaks Spanish.
But if you were interested in Spanish, I wouldn't tell you not to worry about it because I'm Spanish or speak Spanish.
That's fair. So you are you genuinely interested in the experience of these people?
I'm confused.
So am I. But that doesn't actually matter. If you can't wrap your head around it, that's fine. And
I want to try to. What are your pronouns?
She, they.
She, they.
Yeah. She,
what?
her, they, them.
She, her, they, them.
Either or, yeah.
And what does they, them mean?
What does it mean to me? Or just,
Sure.
Like, in general?
Both.
I feel like they, them is like,
You feel like.
yeah. I feel like, because who am I to define it?
Okay. Well, I feel like you should define it because you're the one that is they, them.
Okay, I feel like it is a label for when you don't fit in on either side, because binaries are stupid. Like, what the fuck? Like, why do we say you have to be either this or that? Neither one is like the correct way to do it, and then also people just assume who you are. We're also different. We're like fluid, you know?
And you feel like gender is the way to divide yourself.
I feel like it is one way that the patriarchy or just society in general has found a way to divide us.
A lot of the they, thems I've talked to identify as both a man and a woman. Is that on track with what you've experienced?
Not even a little bit. Most of the people that I've talked to that prefer they, them do not identify being a man or a woman. They're just disinterested in the whole concept. But that doesn't mean that my experience is everything.
Is that coming down to how they perform in the world in terms of dressing and acting, or is it more to do with genitalia?
Many of the people that I've experienced, they don't like being thought of as a man, and they don't like being thought of as a woman. They would like for you to see them as a person. And the problem is in our society, everyone starts with gender first, and it gets to be exhausting. And some people are perfectly happy with that. I don't mind people thinking of me as a woman first. That doesn't bother me. But for a lot of people, it does. And that's okay.
I'm interested in why that would bother someone. I don't get that.